Welcome back. Yesterday, the High Court in Pretoria ordered that the South African Post Office be placed into business rescue with immediate effect. The Post Office was in provisional liquidation in the run-up to the recent court ruling. With the prospect of a final liquidation looming, the Minister of Communication and Digital Technologies, Mondli Ngubele, applied for the Post Office to rather go into business rescue so that it ultimately survives and continues with the mandate of serving South African citizens, particularly the poor and marginalized. However, it suggested that up to 7,000 jobs could be lost in the business rescue process. Worker representatives are advocating for job preservation. We are now joined by Communication Workers Union General Secretary Aubrey Tshabalala to discuss the South African Post Office being placed under business rescue. Aubrey, thank you so much for joining us here on the late edition. Of course, it is quite concerning when you look at the situation pertaining to the South African Post Office. Perhaps let's start off here. What is your comments as the Communication Workers Union when it comes to that ruling from the Pretoria High Court?
Well, good evening to you, Mbali, and the viewers. The first point that we want to make is something that we actually anticipated, that the ruling will be obviously in favor of the business rescue, but it's a situation that is not ideal for us as a trade union movement because, like we've been saying, we shouldn't have been here. But now that we are here, there's a court order in place. That's why we have filed papers that also we wanted to be part and parcel of the proceedings so that we can be able to express the views of the workers at the plant level.
And of course, we now know as much as, it could have been worse with the situation of the post office. But at the same time, we could still see at least 7,000 people lose their jobs. And what is your thoughts on that?
Well, first and foremost, we think that when we had the minister mentioning 7,000 jobs to be cut from post office, there's absolutely two things about it. The first one is that the minister might be misled or basically does not know what he's talking about. I mean, what he reflected on is the program, or what we'll say a business plan that was introduced in 2016 by then the business rescue, who was Lucy Molshaba at that time. And the number of workers of post office were just above 19,000. Now we're talking of the staff complement of just over 12,000. You're still bringing that all the business presentation that talks about 7,000 workers. Clearly, the minister has not been properly briefed there. But also, you also to take into account to say you cannot be in a position to turn around things or to expand a business so that it can be able to create revenue. If we are going to cut its network, its production line, its baseline, that will mean that we are basically planning further to destroy the institution that is at its weakest place at this point in time.
And of course, you've also then applied to be part of this matter in the High Court, as you said a bit earlier on. Why did you take this decision? Why is it so important for you to be part of this court challenge?
Many a times we've seen that the number of the SOEs, such as SAA, many a times is that the voice of workers is not properly expressed when the business decisions are taken, particularly when you talk about the business rescue. They seldom forget that workers are part of the creditors in this instance. For example, if you look at the post office workers, that there are 6 years, 4 years pension has not been paid. You look at the question of the medical aid that has not been paid. These are the benefits that workers have already worked for and they should be paid for. But over and above it is that they are a critical voice and a component of the entire business system. So as they will be talking the outsourcing and the unbundling of the institution, they normally see workers as something that can be easily disposed without looking at the consequences that will come up with it. Because saving the jobs of post office is not only about the 7,000 families and extended families, but it's about the poor and the destitute that relies purely on post office to get those services. So that's a reason that we actually find ourselves in a position or compelled to be part and parcel of that process, so that we make sure that the voice of workers is expressed, but over and above everything else, the post office is safe. Because if you can leave it today, this neoliberalist, it will leave us without the post office. I think we'll be the second country in the world without the post office.
But one would ask, as much as the economy doesn't want to see people lose their jobs because of the high unemployment rate we have in this country, are we not here postponing the inevitable? Because, I mean, this could be a business that could have been liquidated.
Well, it's been a song in South Africa, isn't it? Let me take SABC as it is right now. We warned them 2 years ago that cutting jobs will actually cripple the production line. And exactly what you have said. Today, they are running loss of finances. Today, they are actually looking for more bailouts. It's not that song they were singing that in 2023, SABC will be in a better space. We are saying the same thing here. It's been said in the SAA again. So we don't believe in just cutting jobs, because that's a baseline. If you don't bring revenue, there's no sustainability of the business. So you have to invest in order for the business to be effective and competitive in the space where it's operating. That's one of the things. But we also have to look into the question of the policies. We know that ICASA is involved. And when the market of the post and courier services was liberalized, it did not look into the question of how best do you cushion the post office, which have to provide the service to the poor, because there is questions of regulated prices, so that the poor can continually to have access when we talk about universal service access. So it is not a question of postponing the pay. It's a question of saying, let us correctly invest. Let us be able to come up with a sustainable plan that will take us forward, so that this institution next year, this time, it does not require another bailout. But this institution next year, this time, when you look at its books, it will be able to give the government itself, returns in terms of its revenue.
But Mr. Tshabalala, this is an institution that owes its creditors at least 9 billion rand, and it got some sort of a bailout earlier this year, but still, when it comes to reinventing itself, it seems as if it's unable to do so.
No. Basically, there's no political will. Minister Mundi Ngubela himself admitted that there's no one who was found in the wrong was made to account for their wrongs. I mean, we as a trade union movement, we went to the public protector, and after that there were recommendations, but the government was reluctant in taking actions against them. That's the first point. But why do we have so many creditors that are not paid? It's because of the wrong decision, maladministration, and also issues of corporate governance. It's not about the institution not doing well. I mean, globally, if you look at all the post office around the globe, after the COVID-19, the lockdown and all of those, this is one of the business that is really mushrooming. So the business prospects are high, which shows you that there's something that can be done. I mean, here in South Africa alone, how many private sector, which are multinationals coming in the space of post office, which shows that there's a need for that particular business. So we cannot therefore say because it's an SOE is inherently a failure or inherently corrupt. We have to clean up corruption, face the problems where they are, so that we can be able to have that institution that is self-sustainable. It has been in the past. It's not something that we are talking as a pie in the sky. We are talking about something that has been there. It's just that the wrong people that have been deployed to lead this institution have taken the institution down the drain.